How's it going? It's good.
So again, we want to just reiterate this is a private conversation, no recordings or anything like that.
Of course.
Let you know that. We just wanted to come back and talk with you a little bit about what our discussion was and the review of your information that you gave us. And there's some things we'd like to discuss with you from the Bible.
Okay.
And we're going to kind of go around the room and do this. So we'll ask Kim to start our discussion tonight.
Okay, so if I could invite you to turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 5.
Mm-hmm. Chapter 5.
Okay, and verses 9 through 13 we could read.
All right. And do you want me to read it or do you want to read it?
Sure, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Would you please?
In my letter I wrote you to quit mixing in company with fornicators, not meaning entirely with the fornicators of this world or the greedy persons and extortioners or idolaters. Otherwise you would actually have to get out of the world. But now I am writing you to quit mixing in company with anyone called a brother that is a fornicator or a greedy person or an idolater or a reviler or a drunkard or an extortioner, not even eating with such a man. For what do I have to do with judging those outside? Do you not judge those inside while God judges those outside? Remove the wicked man from among yourselves.
Okay. So you get the principle there, Ethan, of what that's talking about?
Well, absolutely. As a man of faith, we wouldn't want to have anything to do with the darkness, the revilers, the greedy ones, the drunkards, the fornicators, and so on and so forth.
So there Paul kind of makes a little bit of a clarification. He was talking about individuals that were in the congregation that acted that way and then were put out, and then we would not associate with them. So the other evening we discussed a little bit with you like regards Dustin and having association with him.
Well, and I understand where you're trying to go with that, but as I recall, none of you brothers actually know what he was disfellowshipped for, or if he has repented, or if he continues to do any of those things today. See, what you're doing right now is you're making a judgment based off of the judgment that happened 2 or 3 years ago. Would that be wise?
Well, has he appealed to the congregation to come back into the congregation?
Well, he's appealed to the only true authority in the matter, which is God. And I, as somebody who does know Dustin, can assure you that he does not meet the criteria of a fornicator, greedy person, idolater, reviler, drunkard, or extortioner.
Okay. Well, the Bible talks about other things that a person might be put out of the congregation for. This is not an all-conclusive list.
Right.
But the point is that he was disfellowshipped from the Christian congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses.
But you don't know why.
No, I personally don't. But did the brothers in Raymond Park ever talk to you about your association with him?
Yeah, once, a while ago.
Okay.
And I wasn't associating with them at the time. We just had passing phone conversations.
So they know why, and they know what the danger is, and so we're okay with that they recognize why he was disfellowshipped, and he has not appealed to be back as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, so that would still stand.
Well, Paul knows, obviously, what the problems are, and of course also we know from Paul's writings that the congregation, because these letters were read in front of the congregation, knows what was wrong with Philetus and what Philetus is guilty of. We know today what Philetus was guilty of. He was a disfellowshipped one, and yet we know what the judicial procedure was, we know what the outcome was, and we know that he later repented. So why is it that precedent would change today in our congregation? Why is it that these things would be kept secretive when the Bible so explicitly, as you pointed out, mentions what we must avoid?
I don't think that's really an issue. It doesn't have a bearing on this, Ethan. The point is that Dustin is disfellowshipped from the Christian congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, he has not made an appeal to come back to the congregation.
Hmm.
You were previously talked to about not associating with him, and we again have discussed this. Also, you mentioned on your YouTube channel that your channel is for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses.
And questioning Jehovah's Witnesses and active Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
I specified all of them. It's not for...
And apostates.
And apostates.
And then you say that you're open to questions and comments.
Mhm.
So that too is association with those who are apostates. So you even open yourself up to that. That's association that you're inviting.
As defined by Jehovah's Witnesses, who define it, rather than saying a defection from Christ, they say is a defection from our specific congregation, which isn't necessarily biblical in the strictest sense.
Well, we're not going to leave it up to you to interpret what the scriptures say. The Bible is very clear in its meaning about mixing in company with those who share in these things and other things that the Bible strictly talks about.
So you're essentially saying that if we associate with somebody who is guilty of a sin, then we ourselves open up the possibility for sinning?
What I'm saying is
Or that we were guilty for guilt by association is the...
what I'm saying is what the verses say right here. If there was somebody from within the congregation that practiced things that the Bible forbids, and they were put out from the congregation, Paul clearly says that we would not be mixing in company with them.
Right.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. And that's pretty clear from the scriptures there. And you even said that you get the principle that expressed it.
Okay, so therefore it's wrong to obviously associate with bad people. What would you say if Watchtower associated themselves with the UN?
We're not talking about the Watchtower, Ethan. We're discussing you now, and I hope you understand that. That that's for your benefit. That this discussion is revolving around you and Bible principles.
But nobody is exempt. Nobody is exempt from Bible principles, are they?
So do you think that your relationship with God is based upon what someone else does or what you do?
My relationship is based on me and God.
Okay. And does His Word, the Bible, apply to you?
Absolutely.
And that's all we're doing. We're just applying scriptures right now to Ethan.
Okay. Right.
Well, Ethan, just in line along with another scriptural thought, if you would, Galatians, the 5th chapter. And well, you've read this yourself many times, like we have.
Probably so.
It's Galatians 5:19, and really the gist goes all the way through 21. I'm going to invite you to read that if you would.
5:19 to 21. Right. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, and they are fornication, uncleanness, loose conduct, idolatry, practices of spiritism, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, contentions, divisions, sects, envies, drunken bouts, revelries, and things like these. As to these things, I am forewarning you the same way as I did forewarn you that those who practice such things will not inherit God's kingdom.
So again, in line with your associates, it's quite clear, isn't it? It says individuals that do practice these things will not inherit God's kingdom.
Absolutely.
And consequently, I think you've said it by your association. You see that is a telltale sign of the fact that you are not necessarily in disagreement with what they've done.
Well, see, that's the thing. I do disagree, obviously, with things that are unscriptural. But as somebody, and I don't think that you brothers would claim to be intimately familiar with my associates, but as somebody who is familiar with my associates, I can assure you, categorically, that none of them practice this criteria: idolatry, gross uncleanness, fornication. How does it go again? Lost the scripture, but anyway, none of them fit that criteria. So you don't know them, and yet you insist to me that this is how they behave. Just wonder how that is possible.
Well, again, we have to base our judgments on the past dealings with the body that dealt with your associate, and we know that they would have followed scriptural precedent as to what he had done.
And just one thing real quick. As I recall, the last time we had discussed this, you did admit that there is the possibility that this imperfect body of men could get it wrong. So you're basing your judgment off of an imperfect man's judgment who may or may not be wrong.
Well, and you have to understand that Jehovah has kindly used us in the capacity that he does, even as imperfect men. And so we leave any judgment that might be, as you say, wrong in his hands. But with regard to this, Ethan, you could say that really you have opted to basically choose your friendship with your best friend over what Jehovah really has asked out of us as human beings in the way that we worship him and do his will. So the fact of the matter is that, again, when you stop and you put it all together, by the very fact that you have chosen to associate by your own admission with this individual or individuals, the woman in Michigan and those associates, as well as you've acknowledged your website, that you have openly brought these individuals into your circle of friends. And so that's an open acknowledgement on your part that you have chosen to do that.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
On some levels, but we'll go ahead and say yes, we'll agree with that.
Again, this really is, we really want to admonish you, Ethan. This really is, we're hoping will motivate you to understand where we're coming from the scriptural standpoint. That's the whole intent here.
From the scriptural standpoint or from the Watchtower standpoint? Because, once again,
we've shared two scriptures with you at this point.
And I maintain, and I respect these scriptures, absolutely. The Bible is the only thing that we should make our standards by. But as somebody who, once again, is familiar with my associates, none of them display these characteristics. So I'm just curious why you continue to insist that they must be, when I know for a fact that they're not.
What about the mention there of divisions?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think any of your associates promote divisions?
Well, I think that by telling me who I can and can't associate with is promoting a division, whereas my associates are not promoting divisions.
So if you picket outside of a congregation or Kingdom Hall, I'm not saying that you did, because you said you were an observer, but you were with the group that planned it, and then you accompanied there. Were you up there at the Assembly Hall in Michigan too?
I was outside. I never went in, actually. Couldn't.
So again, the purpose, though, you see, you're trying to go into an established congregation of individuals and present your message, right? What's the hope? That somebody inside might see it and come out from the congregation. That's promoting a division. So
well, if by that standard, aren't we promoting divisions when we go out in the ministry? We present our message to congregated groups of people everywhere, hoping that they will come out, as you say.
What did Jesus command?
Okay, so what's the difference between your ministry and mine?
That here we're discussing the Christian congregation. And anyone, in the context of the scriptures, anyone that creates division within the Christian congregation is causing divisions. And that is not approved by God or by Jesus Christ.
So other churches that claim to be Christian congregations, when we draw away followers and they become Jehovah's Witnesses, that is not causing a division in the Christian congregation?
Well, they're not the Christian congregation. That's the difference.
How do we identify the Christian congregation?
That's not the matter for our discussion here, Ethan.
Well, you're saying that I'm drawing people away from the Christian congregation, and then you seem unconcerned with how we identify that.
No, I don't seem unconcerned. The issue is that your association with individuals who promote divisions is not unclear. And, in fact, your own website is not unclear.